Hi, everyone. It's Sarah. Welcome to Unmuzzled, a podcast. I so appreciate you being here. Again, I'm going to brag about this. I know I've pre-taped a few, but oops, sorry about that. Top Pets Podcast. I'm so proud of this. I know there's tons of podcasts you can listen to. Thank you for putting us up there. We were at 22 last time I looked, but it means a ton. It also means a lot to my sponsors, presenting sponsors Europe. Thank you so much to our presenting sponsors. Yucca Fence is a family-owned, trusted provider of high-quality fencing solutions with over 57 years of experience. They take pride in protecting what you love the most and give back to rescues, shelters, and humane societies through their partnerships. They give you a free, no-obligation estimate and use the highest quality materials. For transparency and peace of mind, visit Yucca Fence for all your fencing needs. Canine Cruise is the place to take your pet. They offer dog and cat boarding, dog daycare, pet retail, and mindful day school. Tons of indoor space with a huge yard. Canine Cruise is your one-stop shop for professional pet care in Chicago. Kiki's Corner Natural Pet Foods in downtown Winfield, just a block south of CDH Hospital on the railroad tracks. Kiki's has all your food and health aid needs for dogs and cats. Kiki's Corner for a healthy, happy pet. Sniffing out a new vet? Bond Vet is a new breed of vet care that offers everything from primary care to walk-in urgent care visits. And right now, they've got a special treat for our listeners. You can use code UNMUZZLED to get $50 off your pet's first visit by booking at bondvet.com. That's code UNMUZZLED at BONDVET.com for $50 off. Thank you, sponsors. I really appreciate it. And again, these are all products, companies I use. There's a reason, there's a partnership. I trust them. We use them. Live Like Rue has used them and partnered with them. So very, very important. If you have been listening to this podcast in even the past 6 months, we have focused a lot on farm animals in particular and livestock auctions. You remember my podcast with Seed. If you did not listen to that podcast, it's very important to have knowledge about what is happening at livestock auctions, what is happening with farms that are not up to code, and awful things are happening to the animals in those farms. So we have Ren here, who unfortunately is there to pick up the pieces from farm animals that are neglected and abused. It makes me cry. It's so sad, but I'm so thankful to you. I have no idea how I found you. I think you commented on an Instagram post or something, and I was like, oh, this is cool. This is local in Illinois. So tell us, so she's with Freedom Run Farm Sanctuary, like I said. She takes neglected and abused animals. We're going to get to how you get these animals, because I don't want owners of farm animals to think they can flood your inbox and your website, because you do not take owner surrenders. There's so many more animals that have needs and desperate needs as well. So I love this story. I loved reading on your website how this all came to be in 2020, and you got married and pretty much bought a farm for this purpose. So tell us how this all started.
So we moved to our property in 2020, and then we actually initially wanted to start a dog rescue. We were really big in the dog rescue community, and we knew a lot about dogs. We had our own rescue dogs. And then my husband actually came across the horrors of animal agriculture. And with that, he kind of guided me on that path as well, because you don't want to see it. And we opened our eyes to it and realized that we knew a ton of great dog rescues, and we didn't know anyone in the sanctuary world. So we wanted to help kind of where it was lacking. All animals deserve good care and rescue, but we didn't, again, know anyone in sanctuary life. So we kind of decided to go through that route instead.
Yeah, and it started with a rooster. I think his name was Rex. Is he still around or no?
He is. He's still crabby as always.
So how did you get him?
So someone essentially was over, and they said this rooster is terrorizing us, as some roosters do, not all. And he was attacking them, and it just was not safe for him there anymore. So they essentially said, you take him or he's gone. And that was kind of the start of it. So We love him to death, but he's just crabby and he doesn't like humans, and that's okay. We respect that.
Right. And I mean, that's the thing. I think people with a sanctuary or have sanctuary dreams, I always talk about, all of us in the rescue world say, oh, I want to have a sanctuary for like chihuahuas would be mine, all of the naughty chihuahuas. But like a lot of times, unfortunately, like they are in the sanctuary and they cannot be touched. They cannot be loved. But there's, when you hear about dog sanctuaries, a lot of times they have, unfortunately, human aggression. And that's why they end up there. Because oftentimes you can place a dog that is, cannot be around other dogs. You just have to take certain precautions. But tell us, where a lot of these animals come from and how do they end up in your sanctuary?
So several of our chickens were adopted from a hoarding case. We coordinated with another sanctuary. We were very young at that time. So Raisin on the left and Summer on the right. Raisin was found at animal control wandering the streets. And then Summer was found in an apartment complex. So several were pulled from animal controls. Several were from a hoarding case. We've lost many of them. We have one left, Salt, from that whole group. And one we believe was from a rooster fighting ring as well. He is also no longer with us, unfortunately. And as for the sheep and the pigs, we adopted Duncan, our very first pig, with his family, who were, it was a group of 3 sheep. There's Duncan. We didn't know that the moms were pregnant. It was 2 females and a male. We didn't know they were pregnant, so we brought them home with Duncan. And then a month later, we had 2 new babies from one of the moms. And 3 weeks later, we had 2 more babies. That's how our family of 3 sheep grew to 7 sheep very quickly. And it's just so cool that they were born into sanctuary. That happens so rarely. And then we also, with our other pigs, we have a truck jumper. We had 2. We lost 1 this year. And we took a owner surrender as well, it was kind of a sad story. She was an owner surrender, and then she was adopted, and it turned into a neglect situation. So she was rescued at that point.
Wow. So I heard you use the term truck jumper. I know what that is, but for the people listening that don't know what that is, it's actually really heartbreaking. But what does that mean?
That is when pigs who are quite literally on their way to be slaughtered, or when, in our case, they're so small, they're on their way to like a growing facility where they will just be fed and fattened up until they are ready or deemed ready to head to slaughter. These babies are so small, and they can fit through these holes on these big trucks going down the highway, and it seems impossible, but it happens. And it's the most beautiful thing when they're able to go into sanctuary and they escaped the fate they would have had. And it's so sad to think about that. When we rescued Hope, she was the size of a water bottle, pretty much this big. We have a picture of her next to a water bottle, and the size is it's incredible to see and how she survived that. So we're super happy to have her in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible when you think a pig, think about the pig like making this like great escape and ending up with you. It's just it makes me cry again. So for you, I mean, there's like these gorgeous shots of your farm. I was reading, about the farm and how you got it, and basically just a bunch of neglect. As far as the property goes, I'm not the animals, but it was a dairy farm that portions of it had burned. The fence was kind of, not able to be used. I know your dream is to really like fence a lot of it in and almost cordon it off so you can have these different species living everywhere. So where are you now as far as, obviously fundraising right now is tough, me having a nonprofit, it's so hard and everybody needs help, so I'm sure, you have a lot of animals that need help, but where are you as far as, kind of making that part of the dream come true and having like these little like sanctioned spaces for all the different animals?
Slow, very slow. As you said, everyone needs help at the moment, and donations are slower than ever. And we're small, we're not super well known, so that makes it harder. everyone has their own area for the time being, but we do need to really expand the areas. Sheep are grazers. They need separate pastures to rotate through so they don't deplete the grass in their whole area. And then for the pigs, they've grown so much that we need to expand their area by double, triple. It was meant for when they were younger, and as they grow, they're pretty much full grown now. So we definitely need to make more space for them, but they're doing okay. So that's the goal. Every time we set out for that goal, someone has a medical emergency or a vet visit or something happens where we just get set back. But
yeah, people don't realize, or maybe they do, but like vetting for farm animals is a lot different because you can't take a farm animal to the vet for the most part. I know we've talked about horses on this podcast and how much, we were helping a horse that had cancer, and that vetting alone to get the vet there to the stable is a thing. And then obviously the medications are different, mostly than what you give a dog. And, it's different for each thing. So that is like a true expense, just the vet care alone. For you, is there a favorite story and I know you can't pick like a favorite animal, but like, I love like looking, like I had a pet pig growing up, and people listening to this podcast get sick of me hearing this, saying this, but I love pigs. I mean, they are just amazing animals. They are so smart. But do you have like a favorite story or favorite animal on the farm?
Gosh, I love them all so much, and it's just so cool. They're all so unique. The one that will always stick out to me is Dexter. We lost him in January. I'm gonna try not to cry. He was a truck jumper as well, and he was actually rescued from Chicagoland Pig Rescue. They picked him up and vetted him and everything. And it was about 2 days before my birthday, and they reached out to us. I'm like, well, here we go. Like, this is the best birthday present ever. Also, please exist birthday presents. We rescued him. He was a little bigger than Hope. So he was a little older than she was when we picked her up. But he was still younger than her in general. He was a couple months younger than her. But he was just the sweetest guy. So before we started the sanctuary, I was terrified of pigs. It's the weirdest thing. I was just so hesitant around them. And they, of course, they picked it up. They're very emotionally in tune and everything. I was just terrified of them, and they knew that, and they took advantage of it. So, but when we rescued Duncan, and then we rescued Olivia, who we lost as well, she changed a lot for me. But Dexter just showed me a whole new side of them. We called him our little lover boy, and he truly just loved everybody, and everyone loved him. He would, if there was a fight in the barn, like a quarrel between the pigs to go through their hierarchy, he would step right in the middle and start yelling at both of them, like, cut it out, guys. We're all here together. It was the sweetest thing. Yeah. So he was probably my favorite story. And when he passed, the amount of messages we got, people we hadn't talked to in years, just the outpour of love for him. It just, his love like ricocheted everywhere. It was so
I love that. And it just kind of like, even though it's so hard, it kind of catapults your mission. You want to even do more when you lose one of your favorites. So I love this, and I wrote it down because I just love that you have this on your website, because you have like an FAQ, and it's like, do you eat the egg? I think somebody asked if you eat the eggs or whatever, but you're vegan. You changed your entire lifestyle to revolve around the sanctuary, and you say animals are not meant to be used for what they can produce. Mm-hmm. That sentiment is so amazing, and I think when people look at it that way and listen to you say that or post that, it's just remarkable. And I think too, like, for you to have started this not that long ago, 2020 seems like forever ago now, but you really jumped in and had to learn a lot. How hard was that part of it, to learn how to be like an animal farmer sanctuary. I mean, and get to know these animals.
Yeah, well, no one prepares you for it. The amount of research, you have to be first and foremost an advocate for these animals 100%, because they're seen as animals who belong in the food industry or to be used for whatever they can produce, right? So vet care is a big thing. It was really, really hard to find a vet. We went through a couple who they didn't agree with our views, and still they wanted to treat our residents as just typical farmed animals. So we finally found, just late last year, we found a very compassionate farm vet, and she's been fantastic for our animals. Our senior sheep, Teddy, has severe arthritis, and she's got him on a care plan, and we check in all the time. She's just fantastic. She's been out to our place. So we have a really good relationship with them. Vet care, the amount of just research that it took for everything, even the food they eat. People think pigs can eat anything, and they really cannot. There are things that can cause them stomach upset and that are dangerous for them. So the amount of research that goes into that, we're constantly looking stuff up, we're constantly learning. And unfortunately, there's just not enough compassionate research for these animals. Because again, they're used for whatever they can produce or what their bodies are worth in the animal ag industry. And it's besides all that, because research is research, we could do that all day long. The one thing we were not prepared for at all was the heartbreak, because you get so attached, which obviously you cannot not get attached to these little guys, but the heartbreak doesn't stop, and you can't stop, and no one really prepares you for that, and no one knows how to handle it, because everyone is an individual in that sense with the way they process things and grief and everything. So there's no one size fits all for that, and that's the hardest thing to navigate through.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, the compassion fatigue alone has to be so tough. Yeah, and that's the other thing I wanted to note is, unlike, and I think that's where I might have seen you as Chicagoland Pig Rescue. I did a podcast with them. I think you commented on that, which would make sense because you take some pigs from them. But unlike them, you are the final stop. So there's no opportunity here to foster. Literally, these animals live out their life at Freedom Run Farm, which is awesome. I mean, you're their final stop. And a lot of these animals, have come from literal hell. So I can't imagine how tough it is to lose them after seeing them, hopefully get better and, trust you and love you. And then, it's tough. So great work by you. So I saw you, obviously you always need donations. Money talks, everybody, especially for a nonprofit. It's so important to get donations. I assume you have a wish list too, as well, for supplies.
Yes, we have one on Amazon and Chewy.
Okay, perfect.
Those are very much needed.
Yeah, and then also volunteers are so important.
Mm-hmm. We are holding off on our volunteer program just due to avian flu and the threat of that. So we're going to wait for a while until it gets warmer. But yes, definitely in late summer, we will need many people. Hopefully we can rebuild the pasture by then and get that going.
That's awesome. Yeah, and they are located in Franklin Grove. Was that it?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So if you are in that area and you want to volunteer, just keep your eye on their website for that. But otherwise, if you can donate, as you guys know, every time I have a guest on, I become a monthly donor for that organization. So I'll be signing up to help the pigs and sheep. And you have cats. I saw a cat in here somewhere. There's the cat. I saw a dog, obviously. I mean, it's not a farm without a bunch of cats and dogs too, right?
We call them our formerly ferals. I've always loved the hard to love ones, and I love seeing them grow. So they were ferals. They were deemed unadoptable, and they were going to be put down. And now they're here. They come up to me every day, and they just love it.
That's sweet. Honestly, amazing. Ren, great work by you. Everybody go give them a like. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook. I showed you their website. Here it is one more time. Go check it out. Get some things from their wish list, or if you can become a monthly donor or do a one-time donation. We all know how much that helps, especially in these crazy times. But thank you, Ren, and good luck with everything. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes. Amazing work they're doing, honestly. I don't know how they do it. As you know, if you've been listening for a while, you know I grew up in Pennsylvania in the middle of farmland, and that's definitely a very particular way to grow up, where farm life, which wasn't my life, but I was surrounded by it, is totally different now, the way I live my life than what I did then, because of how much I've learned on this podcast, to be honest with you. If you go back and look at the first time I talked to Kaylin from Seed, I was trying to not eat meat anymore, and now I don't. So because of all of these things that you learn, and what Ren talked about, becoming vegan, and really noticing what was going on in the farming communities, and including those livestock sales that I talked about, it changes everything. It really, really does. And you don't ever want to touch it again. So great work. Saving farm animals is obviously not easy. We just heard all about it. Supporting sponsors, thank you. Thank you to our supporting sponsors. On the corner of Montrose and Troy in Chicago's Irving Park neighborhood, you'll find a hidden gem known as Templestowe Pub. They have a great selection of local draft beers, and the Malort is always flowing. Oh no. Join us for a charity bingo event or a tap takeover with a local brewery. Don't want to leave your dog at home? All good, bring them along. Whether you're throwing darts or playing a banger on the jukebox, you're guaranteed to have an awesome time. So head on over to 3135 West Montrose and look for the old style sign. The Canine PT is Chicago's highest rated dog physical therapy clinic, and they're dedicated to enhancing the lives of your four-legged companions as they age or when recovering from an injury. Give the gift of pain relief to your furry friend. They also offer a discount for rescue dogs. For more information, visit thecaninept.com. Intuitive animal behavior dog training, positive reinforcement, force-free and fear-free training solutions for every dog. Jenna offers individualized training, behavioral boarding, shelter support, and positive reinforcement board and train services. Creating an environment that is happy and healthy for your pets is so important. For more information, go to intuitiveanimalbehavior.com. Thank you, sponsors. I really appreciate it. We love you. Thank you, Ren from Freedom Run Farm Sanctuary. Please check them out. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.